This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Check them out using the link in the description below. Thanks to the revival of LEGO Indiana Jones, there is yet another cancelled LEGO set to add to the list. Not this one did officially release. However, today I wanted to talk about some of the LEGO sets that LEGO has either cancelled way before production or even cancelled at the very last minute. Now in the world of LEGO, set cancellations don't actually happen all too often, though I feel like over the last couple of years there has certainly been a lot more cases. Now this list definitely doesn't contain every single cancelled LEGO set, but it does contain what I believe personally to be some of the most notable cancellations. Starting off is the one that I think started off this brand new wave of like frequent cancellation sets, and that is the Technic Osprey. Now the Osprey was cancelled so late in production that these actually ended up getting shipped out to New Zealand. So there are quite a lot of them out there. I mean, not tons, but like enough that there's like a notable number, if you get what I mean. Now this set from memory was supposed to release in August of 2020. There was a couple of things that I feel like attributed to this. The first being, apparently there were a lot of issues with the actual mechanics of the set. I mean, Technic is difficult. It's difficult to get all of the pieces to work together. And apparently there was like a fault. There was like one piece that was constantly breaking or just playing up. So that is believed to be one of the reasons that the Technic Osprey did get cancelled. However, one of the more popular theories is that last minute LEGO decided this crosses the military line a little too much. Let's can it. Now, as I said, the Technic Osprey was supposed to be a like rescue vehicle rather than a military vehicle. However, there was a very small but loud group of people that did fight this, saying that this crosses the military line too much. So there was like a very minor protest that happened outside of a LEGO store in Germany where people were saying like stop the violence or whatever. Maybe that plus the fact that there was an error with the set caused them to pull it. I mean, I didn't really see many military aspects to it. That being said, I'm not super into military. This got pulled like very last minute. Like I said, you might be able to go and buy one if you're willing to spend like several $100s, maybe even $1,000. Thanks New Zealand for getting them out to people. Another recent cancellation, but one that I feel like is more forgotten about, is this Christmas promo. Now this Christmas promo, why would it get cancelled? I mean, there's like no structural issues with it. Overall, it looks really fine. Oh, wait a second, we made a naughty list out of LEGO, which like honestly, that's pretty funny. But at the last minute, LEGO decided that that probably wasn't a good idea. I mean, they didn't want to have kids looking at the naughty list and being like, oh no, I'm a bad kid, I'm gonna get coal in my stocking for Christmas, even though I've never actually heard of anyone that's ever gotten coal in their stocking. That being said, LEGO canned this at the last minute. They decided that it was too upsetting for children. Again, there was a couple of them that ended up getting out, but since it was a promo, like it wasn't really available from stores, so I'm pretty sure that they would have been like stolen or like sent to be destroyed and then like never destroyed. It's a couple $100s if you want to go and buy it. I mean, the only exclusive thing that I'm aware of is like that naughty list print, but you could go and make one yourself if you really wanted to and save a lot of money. Honestly, I think this is funny. I kind of really want this set, but I'm not gonna go and pay for it, so that exists. Alternatively as well, there are sets that did get cancelled that never actually like made it into production, and one that sticks out to me as a Harry Potter fan is Malfoy Manor. Now back in the years of like 2010 to 2011, this set was pitched. I guess like Deathly Hallows is pretty big at the time. Ultimately, it never ended up happening, probably because they thought it was too violent, or they just lost the Warner Brothers license and never made any sets again for a while, which is kind of disappointing. But some preliminary like sketches of this leaked, and I really want to try and replicate this. I believe Bricksterry went and did this, and I really want to have like my own interpretation of this set because overall it seemed really cool, and Malfoy Manor to this day is something that we've never really gotten in LEGO. I mean, it was supposed to have Hermione, Harry, Narcissa Malfoy, and Bellatrix, all the minifigures that you've probably already seen in the sets before, so it wasn't really anything that interesting, but it looked like there was a couple of cool play features, and overall I feel like it would have been a really nice small set design. But yeah, unfortunately that didn't end up releasing. Around the same time period in 2012, there was also a Phineas and Ferb like board game set that was going to release under the LEGO Games franchise. That never ended up happening though. It did make it a little bit further in development, as there was like a whole instruction manual that was made for it and ended up online. If you want to go and build it yourself, you can. It's available. I ended up finding it. But overall, this seemed really cool. There was a ton of like promotional images and things like that using Phineas and Ferb. But I don't know, I guess like LEGO games just like weren't popular, so they pulled the whole franchise and therefore this game, which kind of sucks. I would have loved to have had LEGO Phineas and Ferb, especially like that tile. It looked really cool. Jumping forward in time a little bit, let's talk about Overwatch. Now, Overwatch was a very strange LEGO theme, and honestly, I like kind of forget that it exists a lot of the time, but there was one final Overwatch 2 set that ended up being cancelled. Now, this wasn't really a LEGO problem, wasn't really like anything to do with that type of thing. It was more of like an Activision and Blizzard issue because they had some very controversial stuff, I guess, happen in their like corporate world. There was a lot of women at the time coming forward talking about how toxic the workplace is, and there was also a lot of allegations about assault as well as harassment going on within the company. So LEGO was just basically like, lol, we're gonna review our partnership with them, and then just pulled the set. Now again, there were a couple of these that got out. I don't actually think it got like released in stores or anything, but if you want the minifigure or you want the set, they are available just for a lot of money. I mean, it was just a one-off set anyway, and again, this got pulled like very last minute, just because, I mean, you can't really predict when a company's about to be called out for their dodgy behavior. So, you know, not really LEGO's fault in that regard, but Activision really screwed that set over. Like a lot of sets on this list, our next one, the Crooks Hideout, was canned because LEGO really can't decide where they want to go in terms of like their morals that they set for themselves, because like the Osprey, LEGO decided that it would be fun to like make something a little bit out the box, and they made the Crooks Hideout, which was a really creative set, very fun, very cartoony, and just like very classic like cops and robbers-esque. Like they had a lot of police sets out at the time, and I feel like this was a really nice complement to all of that and all of like LEGO City at that time period. Now this set appeared in the back of the instruction manuals for LEGO City so that you could tell it exists. However, last minute again, LEGO pulled it because they decided that this was going against our morals or something like that. Like they just gave like a really kind of bland excuse, and it's really sad, honestly. I thought this was a really fun and creative set. Not that I was gonna buy it, but like it's also very cartoony and like over exaggerated, and you can kind of tell just by the giant stick of dynamite on the top. And while all of these LEGO sets get cancelled, there's one thing that won't be cancelled, and that is the website that I created, setsonatable.com.
Coming up with the creative genius that was setsonatable.com may have been hard, but creating the website using Squarespace certainly wasn't. I'm the proud owner and lead web designer for setsonatable.com, and while that does sound impressive since we are a soon-to-be winner for best website, anyone can take my job just because of how simple and easy to use Squarespace is. They make it incredibly easy to start up your own website or online store with no previous coding experience required. When creating setsonatable.com, Squarespace's galleries and portraits options made it incredibly easy to showcase such beautiful pieces of artwork. And if I really wanted to as well, I could create an entire gallery that is password protected and just share it amongst a select group of people. The whole thing looks incredibly professional and honestly makes my photography look far better than it actually is. And I was able to accomplish that all within a matter of minutes. Squarespace can take care of many aspects of your site. I personally purchased the domain name for setsonatable.com from there, and it allows me to manage it all throughout the Squarespace system. But if you have an online store, you can get insights as well to how your store is performing and how many purchases you've made and a ton of other analytics. Head to squarespace.com/HollyOnFilm for your 14-day free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use code HollyOnFilm to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. The link is in the description down below, and thank you again so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video.
I'm back from my little cheese intermission to talk about the Marvel mechs. Now, these technically aren't cancelled and are one of the few things on this list that were actually delayed. I mean, initially the first run of Marvel mechs was cancelled because they had like stability issues with the hip joints. Now, like a lot of other things, they made it out to stores, specifically this time in Australia. Now, what I found out is that things like kids stuff, as well as the LEGO stores themselves, actually got shipments. Now, the LEGO store, of course, couldn't sell it because they're affiliated with LEGO, so those sets sat in the back rooms of LEGO stores in Australia for several months. They only got picked up, I think, in like March or something, right before the new ones came out. However, some of the other stores ended up putting them up so you could buy Iron Man and you could buy Black Panther, and I think a couple places got Wolverine as well. I ended up buying the Iron Man one, and like the hip joints I personally didn't find an issue with, but like for the most part this mech's exactly the same. I mean, the box is pretty much exactly the same because they didn't change any of the box art. The instructions are slightly different, and like the pieces you can just swap out yourself, so it's really not that special, but I cannot believe that LEGO didn't pick up on these issues way earlier. Like, I don't know what they were doing in product testing to like not realize that there was problems with this stuff, but I guess out of all of the collector's items from being cancelled, this is probably like very, very bottom of the list in that regard. From this same wave as well, there was a China Postcard, which again was going to come out, however last minute LEGO was like, actually we don't want the Chinese flag there, so they cancelled it, pulled it. I'm pretty sure the only ones that got out might have been like review copies. The Chinese flag got taken off as well as a little flagpole. Otherwise the postcard pretty much stays the same, but like I don't think that many people were like running to go out and buy this set anyway, unlike they were with Wolverine. So I don't think many people really noticed or even cared about this one. One of the most infamous cancelled sets though, I think has to be Yavin IV, so much so that it is only just about to actually like exist in a Lego set rumored for 2023. It's insane. Now Yavin IV, the whole reason that this one again even got out is it was actually in like a Star Wars visual dictionary or book or something, and there was a photo of it, and there was also another photo of it in like the background of a photo of the Lego offices in Denmark. But they have like a lot of prototype type of sets or just like builds and things like that, so I don't think many people really knew it was a set without having this book. Now a lot of people have tried to replicate it. I think there's a model on Mecha Bricks where you can kind of see what it was like, and overall this set was really cool. I'm really excited though to see like how a new Yavin IV set turns out, given the fact that like we've never really seen it. Building techniques and like pieces have way improved since then. I honestly think this set's gonna be really cool, but this is probably one of the ones that I actually like really am upset that it didn't come out, because I think this set would have been amazing. Also from Star Wars, there was another cancelled set, which was to do with the Buildable Characters line, which really was not that great or was not that popular, so the whole line got canned. But in the final release that there was reportedly supposed to be, according to these product catalogs, there was going to be a buildable Super Battle Droid, as well as a buildable 501st Trooper and AT-ST Walker, which honestly, that looks really sick. I've seen the preliminary images, they were like in this catalog. These look incredible. I really feel like they probably would have been some of the better buildable figures along the lines of General Grievous and Darth Vader, and I guess to an extent as well, like Jango Fett and Cody, like those look pretty cool. I also don't think they would have sold all that well, but they would have been really cool to just like really round off the collection and again add some more prequel sets to the existing lineup for Star Wars. There was another set that was also cancelled due to controversy, but not quite so much, I guess, like the Osprey or like the Chinese flag with the China postcard, but more so like real world events, and that was the Las Vegas Architecture Skyline. Now there are a couple of these that exist. I don't know exactly what happened, but this version of the Las Vegas Architecture Skyline exists, and it has some pretty prominent Las Vegas hotels, including Mandalay Bay, and these days you'd probably look at this set and see nothing wrong with it. However, at the time of release, Mandalay Bay just had, I'm pretty sure it was either like an attack. Basically, Vegas was kind of recovering, so Lego instantly pulled the model that they had and reworked it in order to then display the Bellagio instead, which personally, I think this version of the set should have been the one from the get-go. The Bellagio is a lot more famous than the Mandalay Bay Hotel. I've been to Vegas a couple of times myself, and like the Bellagio to me stands out far more than that one ever did. I don't know why it wasn't made in the first place, and I think in this case it was an improvement. It's also a very understandable and reasonable excuse for a set to be cancelled, but yeah, it's a set with a story if you didn't know. Las Vegas architecture. And then lastly, of course, we have the set that inspired this entire list to begin with, the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. Now the Temple of Doom is such an interesting one because the response that Lego gave for it being cancelled was like so indirect, it's insane. Also, they let a ton of people like share images of the leaked set box, which usually doesn't happen with this stuff, but that was all allowed to be shared by people affiliated and associated with Lego, which is I think one of the more interesting parts about it. Now the Temple of Doom, I only watched the movie for the first time recently, and while I was watching it, and you know, since this did get cancelled, I kind of had in the back of my head like, okay, like maybe like why is this gonna be cancelled? And I'm like watching it, I'm like, look, I can honestly see where Lego is coming from with this. It is a very dark, very violent, and like very gory movie. And watching it, it completely checks out because the Temple of Doom, fun fact, is actually the reason that the PG-13 rating exists, because Steven Spielberg was fighting so hard for this to be viewed by a white audience, but at the time there wasn't anything between PG and R-rated. They managed to get a PG rating, but eventually this did lead to the creation of the PG-13 rating due to all of like the violence and the darker themes and such like that. And this set to me looks amazing. Like, I don't think it personally should have been cancelled. I think it would have been a very fun thing, and I'm really annoyed that Lego did cancel it because it just looked like one of those really, really cool sets that I think would have sold incredibly well. And it also leaves a very big gap in the Indiana Jones lineup currently as it stands, as you have 2 small sets and like 1 pretty expensive set and nothing really to fill it out. But those to me are some of the most interesting out of all of the sets that Lego has cancelled in their lifetime. Let me know which one of those you really wish was still a real thing. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel down below, and also don't forget to check out Squarespace using the link in the description. But until next time guys, I'll see you later.